Hey guys. Hey guys. When speaking of today's review topic, it goes a lot deeper than just the base game. The Last of Us is not a game. It is a movie. A poorly written movie at that. So poorly written, I think that Dragon Ball Evolution might have a few thumbs up in terms of its writing. You see, when trying to do a character piece, which The Last of Us is, you have to relate to the characters. You have to care. And you have to worry whether they live or die. And trust me, the game most certainly tries. Even from the first outset of the first 20 minutes with the main character's initial loss. And the game throughout, even with the DLC Left Behind included, tries to pull at your heartstrings, constantly asking you to care about the characters that are in the camera's focus, to care about their lives, to care about everything that they do. But it is in this reviewer's opinion that it's next to impossible, given the fact that the script is given no context, no support whatsoever. It's filled with plot holes to the grim, questions left unanswered, explanations left untold. We are asked by Naughty Dog and the writers of the game just to believe it because it's right or because there's some kind of note to examine. But instead, we are left still shaking our head, still wondering how, why, why this world got this way, even though it's through a bacteria known as cordyceps, an actual real life bacteria known to infect plants and even sometimes animals in a mushroom like effect. This different take on a zombie apocalypse is new and refreshing, but without the information to care about it, or the information needed of how it got this way, we are left asking questions. But again, the game doesn't focus any of its efforts upon that. Instead, it focuses on Troy Baker's character, Joel, and a very brilliantly done Ashley Johnson as Ellie. Yes, the voice acting is top notch, but the script that they are given is shoddy, pothole written, and filled with so many forced acts of dialogue and forced acts of plot because, as I was saying during my 23-hour and 34-minute playthrough, because the plot demands it, plot points that it's almost predictable to watch. And without the emotional context, the game loses quickly the weight that holds it up. If you don't care about the characters, and trust me, I would rather see the main character Joel drown in a vat of hydrochloric acid before saving his life, and I would rather see Ellie jailed for the amounts of crimes that she commits because of her douchiness, or at least given a once over, that I end up not caring about these two. And they are the main crux of the tale. And I don't even care about the sub characters like Tommy or Maria or even the young kid Sam. Why? Because they're not alive long enough to care. And Tess, well, she's dead long before you're even given a chance to care. And that seems to be the motive with this game. It's over far too quickly before you care far too less. Relationships are short, to the point, not given any context. Some reviewers might tell you that it's because of the endure and survive sort of idealism that everybody's trying to survive in their piece of this nature taken back humanity world. But you're not even initially drawn into the conflict between the government and the Fireflies. Why? Because, again, just like everything with the script, there's too little information. When the game forces you to find out these stunning revelation about the Fireflies and their true intent, you don't feel anything. You just feel numb. You just want to get Ellie out of there because, well, the plot demands it. Not because you actually care, it's the only thing stopping you from completing the game. And if you feel in this review that I've spent too much time talking about the plot holes or the many mistakes in the story, it's because the game itself has little to offer. To even call it a game would be in the shortest sense. But okay, it's a basic cover shooter, much like Uncharted, Naughty Dog's previous game. You cover, you shoot things, you kill things. But yes, because the evil infected can kill you in one hit. Why? Because the game demands it. You're forced to do with stealth sections. The stealth sections with the infected are the most intense part of the game, but they're very easy due to a game-breaking mechanic known as focus, which allows you to see every enemy on screen given a certain distance, even through walls. This takes away with some of the tension, seeing that you can pre-plan some of the patterns, and even through a myriad of distractions like bricks and bottles, you can even influence their pattern, which takes away the tension of getting through a stealth-filled room of infected or even human beings. In fact, it will be the human beings, especially in the latter half, that will be your greatest challenge. They'll get you in grapples that you may have to overwork to get out of, take far too many bullets or knife shots, and just be a general annoyance, which practically that's what the humans are in this game. An annoyance, an afterthought. Although one-on-one combat with them is the best part of the game, seeing that the melee combat is expertly done. The punches and kicks, the bangs on walls, even using pipes and other assorted weapons to get rid of your opponents quickly can be satisfying, fine, and almost empowering, especially as Joel. But the unfortunate part is playing as Ellie, that empowerment is taken away. You see the innocence, the frailty of the little girl. And that innocence and frailty should have been something that should have gone throughout the game. Instead, playing most of your game as Joel, you feel too empowered most of the time. And the fact that you are given far too little context in the Joel, again, because story, you don't feel invested or empowered at all. You feel like an analog, just driving a character around that really doesn't mean anything. Yes, one of the other bright spots is its crafting system. Throughout the game, you'll have to pick up random doodads that can craft into smoke bombs, Molotov cocktails, shivs that kill the clickers a lot easier, health kits, most importantly, and of course, upgraded weapons. Also, using toolboxes and workbenches, you upgrade the myriad of weapons at your disposal. Shotguns, assault rifles, flamethrowers, even bow and arrow, and even an assortment of pistols line your armory. And trust me, on harder difficulties, you'll need every bit of it. Why? Because the AI is actually smart. That is, if you want to annoy yourself with repeatedly dying and have to go through the same boring trunk of dialogue again and again. Even the Left Behind DLC that's included in the remastered package, the version of the game we're reviewing today for PS4, is kind of a hidden chapter, or a forgotten one in my case, of the story campaign. It tells a lot of Ellie's backstory with her first partner. But because it does such an excellent job, much like the latter half of the game, it feels like a part that was purposely ripped out so they could sell it as DLC back in the PS3 days rather than an integral part of the story, which is a shame. But then again, even with its additions, the damage has already been done. The pain has already been suffered. I look at The Last of Us as a symbol of where Sony was at the end of the PlayStation 3 era, as doom and gloom hovered over its head. One last attempt to make the PS3 relevant, a console that through its 7-year life cycle failed to earn the relevancy that because of its power and its prestige it should have deserved right from the start. Unfortunately, games like Uncharted 2 didn't help the argument, and by the time The Last of Us came out, it was already too late. But it also drives up a problem with hype and how people can get universally confused on what is or isn't a masterpiece. The Last of Us is not a masterpiece. It's not even a good game. It's not even acceptable by standards. But yet, every review except for this one you'll see on YouTube sings this game's praises as one of the top 10 games possibly of all time. But how can a game like this be all time? Throughout my journey of playing The Last of Us, and no, I didn't play the multiplayer. Why? Because it would have not affected the score in any way if it were good or bad. It just would have been there. But if you honestly want my opinion on the multiplayer, perhaps a Twitch multiplayer stream might be in near order. But by and large, the game is undeserving of even that. What you have here is a game filled with great ideas and potential. Potential that could be realized in the sequel. But potential doesn't overplay the hype. The hype was too huge. The reviews are like a wolf or like a sheep in wolf's clothing. And that's exactly what The Last of Us is. It is a sheep. But because of its tremendous graphics and because of our need to find the next golden game, and yes, I blame us, that The Last of Us is elevated to a place that it really shouldn't be. It's not even good for what it's trying to mimic, a dramatic post-apocalyptic movie. Instead, it falls flat on all bases, leaving the player empty, leaving me empty. The Last of Us is strangely symbolism for Sony not only about to die, but Sony via the PS4 era rising again despite all the naysayers. But if this is the example that PlayStation 4 had to set by bringing a below average game back to the masses because the masses were fooled in believing that it's a piece of art, then how long before the actual art comes to grace a console that, by me having it for a week, has proven itself on a technical standpoint? It's just so saddening that The Last of Us is viewed as the gold standard when it can't even hold the candle to a bronze. It's more like copper or even zinc. It's something that looks pretty, but in the end, it's worth no value. Much like the story, the hype is disjointed. The feelings are disjointed. And this isn't coming from a person who just came from Xbox and still will remain on Xbox primarily. This is coming from a writer, a person that writes in his own head for a living, a person that is constantly writing things, a person who has played games for over 20 years and has had emotional moments. The Last of Us did not grip me. The Last of Us did not make me tear. The Last of Us did not make me think. All The Last of Us ultimately did was wonder why all the hype. But most of all, it made me regret the fact that our standards and our search for the next golden one has become so bad that we'll elevate something above its status. Although it has more hope than Destiny did, it's ironically in the same place. A bad example of what can happen when there are too many voices in the kitchen speaking lies and there is no truth. Sometimes as a reviewer, I have to be the disprover. And in this case, I will be. I give The Last of Us Remastered an unfortunate 4 out of 10. This is not the game you're looking for. This is not the hype train. This is not the good game. This is not the masterpiece. This is not the all-timer. This is an average game lying to you. If you do get emotional about it, that's your preference. But me, there are other ways to drive my emotions. The worst way you can try is by force. And that's all that The Last of Us was. A game that I completed by force. Hopefully the next one I play will be better. Find peace in your own nirvana. Thanks for watching.